And good morning and welcome to Focus on Stafford County on 1590 KVGB. I'm Steve Webster, your host. Welcome to the program. We talk about everything going on in Stafford County. Joining us on the show today, Carolyn Dunn, Stafford County Economic Development Director, and EcoDevo Program Director, Ashley Bevan.
Good morning.
Hi, guys.
Good morning.
I was thinking, we've been doing this for 5 years. We're trying to zone this in. I guess, I don't know, sometime 3 or 4, something like that. So,
right.
Congratulations. A lot of these
It's
programs,
been a while.
a lot of these programs don't even last 3 weeks. So, you've been around here for years now.
Well, yeah, it feels a little more routine than it once did.
Okay. All right, we've got a lot to cover here, Carolyn. And first of all, if you mention corporate farming, it's like throwing a rubber snake in a station wagon full of people, you know? I don't know if that's a good analogy, but people get pretty excited real quick.
It can trigger some emotional feelings right off the bat.
And we've had that this week.
Well,
or this past couple of weeks.
A few people have been asking me about what's going on. You know, they've maybe seen the county commission minutes that show that this has been a topic of discussion. So I thought it might be just good to just explain what has been brought up and why. It's not because that there's any particular interest in locating any facility here. There's nothing to protest in that sense if there's concern about that. But kind of what stimulated it is I was going to some statewide meetings and have awareness that the state of Kansas is putting some emphasis on trying to develop in dairies. There's been some examples of where that's been successful in western Kansas, recruiting dairies from California, and it's represented some economic development there. And state is interested in furthering that where people want it. Stafford County is one of 4 counties in the state that has just an outright ban on corporate hog and dairy farming. So we're not even a contender. And I thought that, since those here's the thing. I think that some of the people locally in our courthouse weren't aware that we had that resolution passed. When I got the word from the state of Kansas, they can't recommend a potential dairy come talk to us about real estate or whatever. I mean, we're just off the list. And we all kind of said, is that true? Is that true? So we went through the books, and sure enough, 1996, a resolution was passed by the county commission, which reversed a previous decision. So the previous decision was in 1994. It specifically said, yes, we can have corporate farms in Stafford County. 1996 comes, and they passed a resolution saying, no corporate farms in Stafford County. So I thought it was worth just having the commissioners aware of what that resolution is on the books and make sure that it's consistent with our current development goals. One thing to consider is that when those resolutions were passed, we didn't have zoning in effect at all in Stafford County. That wasn't passed until about 1998. So I think that probably it's fair to say that those resolutions were passed as a way to have some say in what kind of development does occur. And now we have a zoning process that similarly, you have to get a permit, you have to consider what kind of impact the neighbors, it's going to have on the neighbors. That's the process that you can require stipulations. You can have stipulations in effect so that if someone does do development, they have to,
right,
whatever, not allow trucks to drive down the road where people are trying to sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that it's fair to say the commissioners aren't going to take action on it right now, though. We've been talking with the zoning administrator just so that we're all clear on how would zoning be able to control how this development could occur. And his information is that there may be some interest at the state level at addressing some zoning law. And so until some of that maybe kind of settles out at the state level, it probably doesn't make sense for us to make a change right now. So no big deal.
If there was a change to make, what would it be? I mean,
the change for one would be to say, we don't need this resolution just banning corporate farming. We've got zoning in place. That would probably be the first change that the commissioners could consider. And I don't think they're going to do that right now because there may be changes in how the state says you can do zoning. And they want to just make sure that our zoning has the appropriate teeth in it so that we don't have development occurring that does adversely affect the neighbors, just isn't the kind of development we want to see, or that if development occurs, we have that appropriate process to, again, put stipulations in place to make sure that it's beneficial for all the people affected.
Well, earlier this hour, we had Barton County Environmental Manager Judy Gorham, who handles those things for Barton County. It's kind of interesting you're talking
really?
about this. I mean, is there an environmental manager for Stafford County or someone that oversees the zoning and things like that?
Well, we do have a zoning administrator.
Okay,
We don't
all
have
right.
an environmental services professional per se, but we do
Okay.
have a zoning administrator. I guess the point I was going to make is that the idea too that what we have that kind of trumps zoning in this case is that resolution just banning corporate farming. And one of the points I wanted, made to the commissioners is that's the legal structure of the farm. It's not to say that a sole proprietor couldn't have 10,000 cows and you're not a corporate farm. And I think if your goal is really just to make sure, again, that the neighbors aren't adversely affected, that the environment isn't adversely affected and so forth, it really has more to do with what proposed operation there is and less to do with its legal structure. I mean, there probably are
corporate
farms
Sure,
in Stafford County. They're owned by families that have been there for a long time, and you don't think of them as corporate farms, and we don't track that kind of stuff. But I would venture to say that there's probably some corporate farms that already exist in Stafford County. I really don't think it's the legal structure that's really what is the most important here, and that's my professional opinion. Others may not agree, but I don't think it's the legal structure that really is what adversely affects other people in some cases. It's more really the actual operation itself and where it's placed, how it conducts its business. So
commissioners meet this week?
they met. Well, he met yesterday and talked about it most recently. And that's when I think, I say, there's nothing there's nobody proposing to put something in Stafford County now. There's not necessarily an urgency around it. We've talked about it just because I think every once in a while it's good to just review and make sure, again, that the regulations you've got on the books are consistent with what goals you have right now. We're working on economic development in a way that we weren't 20 years ago. And so we're just reviewing it, but I don't anticipate that any new action is going to be taken any time in the immediate future.
All right, Carolyn Dunn with us here today, focused on Stafford County on 1590 KVGB. More of today's show coming up after this. Welcome back. Focus on Stafford County today on 1590 KVGB. Carolyn Dunn, Ashley Bevan Ashley, in here on the program today. Okay, Carolyn, we're talking about that corporate farming resolution. Don't panic. Everything's okay. E-community tax credits. What's the latest on this in Stafford County, Carolyn?
Well, Stafford County has a new allocation of $60,000 in entrepreneurship tax credits. So for one, I guess announce that those are available to those who are interested in utilizing tax credits as a way to both kind of further some charitable interests, but also reduce your Kansas tax liability. We have, like I said, 60,000 in credits. I think we have some donors that are already interested in some, so probably about 50,000 left. And give us a call at 549-3527 or cdunn@staffordecodepot.com if you're interested in those. One of the main things that we may be able to use those for is our grocery store that we're trying to recruit. We have shown the building in St. John to several potential tenants, including a group this week that was interesting in a good way. So we may be able to utilize the e-community funding toward that. There's going to be a fair amount of renovation costs with this building, or really it's the biggest cost is not so much in renovating the building, it's installing the refrigeration equipment. Buying and really the cost of installation is about as much as it is to buy the equipment. So that's a major expense, and our entrepreneurship funding may be able to offset part of that.
Does it seem, in your opinion, that are most of the people that are looking at the possibility here, looking at remaining in that downtown location?
We're doing a feasibility study on exactly that right now. So the thing we have to figure out is where's the best break-even analysis. Yes, you have lower costs in the existing building, but you also have a smaller amount of space to stock stuff that people buy. So you're going to probably sell less stuff. And it is a trade-off. It's an analysis, and we're kind of in the process of doing that with an actual grocery analyst right now. So what can we potentially get out of the building that we have? Or, if we were to consider a different location, what kind of sales could we get out of that? And it's a feasibility projection.
Is there room for expansion on the back of that store to the north?
There is space that the city does own,
okay.
So.
Because the problem has been when the unload groceries, you have to, use a conveyor belt to go up to the to the top floor?
And that's exactly what our most recent potential tenant was really giving a lot of thought to, the amount of labor that it takes to unload a truck. There's no dock, so you unload it by hand, and then you put it on a conveyor. The storage is upstairs, the amount of labor that it takes to do that. It elevates some of the cost of doing business. What's the best way to mitigate that? Is it to add on and have a dock? I don't know. That's a possibility, perhaps. At some point, the cost of renovation can exceed the cost of new construction in some cases. We'll just have to gather some estimates and see where that goes. Ashley's been doing some work on generating consumer input on this, and I'll let her tell a little bit about what kind of survey that we've got out there.
Yeah, I created a survey, a grocery consumer survey on SurveyMonkey. It's posted on our Facebook page. People can click on that direct link and take the survey. All responses are anonymous, and SurveyMonkey will aggregate those responses, and then we can share this with the market analyst that's doing our feasibility study.
Are you getting good response so far, or just
we only have about 25 responses so far? I did just post that the end of last week, I believe it was. So we're still working on that. Before we came up here this morning, I started putting one together for a physical survey that we can print out and place around town. If people don't have access to a computer to take that, they can still take and fill out a physical survey and drop it back off at our office, and it'll still be anonymous. So
we actually have a real ballot box, a good way to collect a survey in a way that's secure, and they can come by the county annex to get those surveys and turn them in if they would prefer to do them in a written way. But again, if they would go to our Facebook page or our website, they can see the link to doing it online, and that really is probably the most direct way.
It seems like, I know probably a lot of people think, well, it's taking forever, but it's just February, 1st of February. I think February 6th was when the store closed, and then a lot of things have gone on here in the meantime. It seems like you're picking up some momentum here, and things are moving a little bit quicker right now.
Right. Well, the city of St. John now owns the building, and that was one element of progress. It was hard to even talk to someone about what the potential is when you have no access to either an existing building or, that really is kind of where we've started the conversation with everyone. I think we're making progress. We had 2 within the last couple weeks that have come to visit that are people with a very established record in grocery merchandising and would be great candidates for our community, either one. So I think it'll just be kind of sorting out. Even among those with experience in grocery merchandising, they kind of have different takes on how they would go about doing it. So neither is wrong, neither is right. We're just going to have to figure out what one we think fits our community the best, which one. I mean, either way, I think the city is going to play a part in supporting getting it going.
How do you see this coming to a conclusion here? Now you have 3 or 4 proposals, and then the city council will go through each one? Or
grocery committee that city council appointed recently, includes those who I think they feel like have some professional knowledge that could add to that kind of sifting through. We have an accountant, a banker, a
school superintendent,
right, independent business owner, 2 independent business owners, and I'm working with the group too. So a couple of these cases, these companies are going through and they're going to kind of put together their break-even projections, and that I think will help define what they're asking that the town help do to get it going. And then, I think the committee will probably be making recommendations to the city council, and city council will do what it feels best.
Welcome back. Focus on Stafford County today. Takeoff, what do you want to talk about?
Well, there's a couple things that I wanted to cover before the end of the program here. And one of them is that we've been talking with the city of St. John about utilizing their land bank to acquire some of the properties that are currently on the list for tax sale. There's a grant application that we see opportunity with, and we've had some good success in the past of acquiring land to build our new housing through these tax delinquent properties. It's been a way to acquire land. For example, the house that we built in Maxville, Stafford County Economic Development bought that at tax sale for $10. So it was not a big expenditure for our taxpayers. And the other benefit that buying these lots that have had housing on them previously is that we don't have to build new streets. We don't have to build new water, sewer, electric infrastructure. It's all, already there. It's been a good strategy. We're hoping that our countywide tax sale would occur now before the grant applications are due, but it looks like it's not going to. The city of St. John has a land bank, and there may be a way for that land bank to acquire the property prior to the tax sale actually occurring in a way that economic development as a nonprofit organization could not. So we've been working with the city on that, and I think, again, it can be a way that we can utilize that structure and not have a lot of expense, get these properties back into productive use, and not have a lot that we as citizens have to pay to do that.
Yeah, $10, that's a pretty good deal.
It was a good deal, and whatever, even if it's $400 or $500, it's still, in the scheme of building infrastructure and so forth, pretty cheap. And if, again, we can get new housing on it, it pays back really fast.
Exactly. That's on the tax rolls now, too.
So City of St. John is helping us with that, and I wanted to tell a little bit about that. The other thing that we've got going on with City of St. John right now is that with that new sidewalk that we've talked so much about, people that drive in St. John may see that it ends short of 281 Highway, and the reason that happened was that to connect it to the place that people are going, if they're going that far, they're likely going to Dollar General. And a grant that we used for that wouldn't have seen it favorably to connect it to one business with public money. So we took the progress we could, said we'll keep working on it, and that's what we've done. So it's taken a little bit of time, but we've established contact with the owner of the property that Dollar General's on. It's not Dollar General Corporation. It's actually an investor that owns the property that Dollar General leases, but he's agreed to pay $15,000 toward the completion of that sidewalk, which will pretty much complete it. We're happy about that.
The corridor now has an ending. It's Yellow Brick Road that just stopped, right? But now
it's come together in several different ways. We also have an adjacent property owner that was willing to contribute land for it if a privacy fence could help, curtail some of the trash and so forth. So that's part of what this $15,000. The city will be matching it too, but part of the full cost is the sidewalk and a privacy fence, and I think that'll help direct the public the way that they should go and everything.
I have not been to St. John to see the sidewalk. How does it look?
It's magnificent. It's brand new. And, I think it has been so satisfying. I watched one night as I was coming home. It was about 7 o'clock in the evening. And in just a block distance, I saw a kid, probably 8 years old or so, riding on a bicycle. I saw a mom pushing a baby in a stroller. And I saw an elderly person in a wheelchair being pushed by someone. And I thought, this is
what it's there for.
Why we did this. Yep.
Thanks, ladies. Let's focus on Stafford County this week. News is next on the Mighty 1590 KVGB.